Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane, and on this podcast we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. And welcome back today to the Joy Work Show. We're talking about something we all experience but rarely embrace, and something that my past week was filled with, or I believed was filled with, and it had a knock-on effect. Quite a few things in my life, in my business, and that is failure. That gut punching, confidence shaking, why am I even doing this kind of failure? But the thing is that failure isn't the enemy. It's actually the path that we need to go on. And if you're not failing, you're not stretching, you're not growing, you're not pushing boundaries, you're not putting yourself out there to see what is actually possible. And what I want to leave you with this episode, and what I have worked through quite a lot this week myself, and this episode is a complete reminder for me, is a whole new perspective. One that makes you almost excited to fail, almost wanting to get out there and fail more, because every failure holds the data, the seed, and the next step to success. And to do that, to embrace failure, we need to talk about reboundability. It's actually a really nice word to say, reboundability. And that is the ability to fail and use it as fuel, as leverage, as the very thing that launches you forward. So grab a coffee, a notebook, or just sit in the quiet and enjoy this next 15 minutes of seeing if we can shift how you see failure forever. And I'm going to start by telling you what the dictionary definitions are of rebound. So this reboundability. And rebound is the bounce back through the air after hitting something hard, or to recover in value, amount, or strength after a decrease or decline. To recover from setback or frustration. And if that's not a way to see what we can do when that feeling of failure comes, I don't know a better word for it. Now back to failure. We have been so conditioned to fear failure when we go back to school grades, job interviews, driving lessons, all the things that we are told is going to shape our lives. And if we are to fail at any of those things, that's it, our life is over at 16 when we don't get our GCSEs. Failure has been painted as the thing to avoid at all cost, to prepare yourself as well as you can that failure does not become part of life. But it's actually nonsense. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually part of the process, and actually part of the process of living a more successful life. How do we know what we like or don't like if we don't fail at some things? How do we know what we want and don't want if we don't fail at some things? We're told to aim for perfection, to get it right the first time. But that's not how growth happens. That's not how we make mistakes and get back up. The one thing that I am delighted about is we haven't done it with our babies and toddlers. We might have done it as mums, but when I've watched both of my toddlers learn to walk, they fall constantly. They bump things. They do it wrong, but they don't stop trying. Even just this morning, my 2.5-year-old put on her shoes on the wrong feet again, like she does every single day. And every single day we tell her they're on the wrong feet. She puts them on the other feet, and then we get on with the rest of her day. But tomorrow morning, that won't stop her trying again. She won't think, oh, I put them on the wrong feet, I'm not going to do that again. She will keep going. She will get up. She will keep moving. They don't sit on the floor when they're trying to learn to walk and thinking, well, guess I'm not meant to be a walker. That's it for me now. I'll just bum shuffle through the rest of my life. No, they keep going. They keep adjusting, they keep strengthening, they keep getting stronger, and then comes the day when they take that first step, and that's it. There's no stopping them. There's no stopping them. They get faster, they get better, and those feet take them places that we can only dream. But when did we lose this? When did it become the difference between those who succeed and those who don't, are those that embrace failure? When did it become that we didn't realise that failure was a huge part of our success story? And when you think about any major success story, behind every win is a string of failures. Oprah was fired. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company. Michael Jordan, talking about rebounding, didn't make his high school basketball team. They all had one thing in common: reboundability. They all got back up. Failure doesn't mean stop, it means adjust, learn, and go again. Now, I said that the reason I'm talking about all of this on today's podcast is I had a week of failures. And I did. I had a week where I questioned pretty much all areas of my life, and I felt like a failure in all areas of my life. I have a chronic illness that I deal with on a daily basis. I also got ill this week. A virus, a bug, a strong cold. I was completely wiped out on Tuesday. And when you have a chronic illness, it's really difficult to stop when it's another type of illness, because you're so used to continuing to try and not to sit down to it. And I felt like a failure on both parts. I felt like a failure that I couldn't be smart enough to give myself the rest. And I felt like a failure because I couldn't just push through this. Because if I can deal with that illness for however many years, how can I be taken down with a cold? But ultimately, it's just my body telling me to rest. I had to move client calls. I didn't get to do podcast recordings, so there was then podcast episodes missed, and no podcast went out last week, which made me feel like a huge failure, because one of the things that I set out to do was to make sure I had at least one episode of a podcast every week, but more often have two. That didn't happen because I couldn't record the intros and outros to guest episodes that I had recorded. I hate moving client calls, but actually all of my clients were wonderful and moved, and all they said was, get better soon. And actually that's a professional thing to do. For me to turn up when I'm not at my best would be a completely unprofessional thing to do. I felt like a failure as a mother because I let screens do more mothering, parenting than I did. I snapped when I shouldn't have. I was extremely tired. I was also stressed because of the way the week went. There was just lots of things happening. It just felt like a week where I was dropping more balls than I was picking up. I wasn't the best partner in the world. I was distracted, not as thoughtful as I should have been. I felt like everything was on me and I wasn't seeing actually the things that he helps me with. I wasn't being the friend that I wanted to be, not showing up in that way. And as a business owner, I didn't feel that I was showing up in my business in the way, and my content wasn't going out in the same way. But actually, all of those things was teaching me something. It was teaching me that sometimes I need to be more prepared so that when these eventualities happen. It also taught me that actually nothing bad happens when I step away, and the world continues and my business continues. And I did that thing that if you're in my world, I will tell you so often to do, is I concentrated on all the things I didn't do rather than concentrating on the things that I did do. And when I look back, I delivered to my membership when I needed to deliver to my membership. I launched the Insight Circle and did the first focus group of that, which was brilliant and really enjoyed. And I got people started on the prizes that they won from there. I was there for my girls when they needed me. I was able to parent when I needed to. I still did all of the things and nothing bad happened. But I spent the week comparing myself to others, feeling behind and questioning my worth. And then I wasn't looking after myself better. I didn't exercise. My eating wasn't as good as it has been. So it felt like a lot of failure. And I felt like a failure more over all of that. It was just that overall feeling of failure. But not one of those failures in that week that were a failure, those things and things that I can learn from, they don't define me. Instead, they give me insight. They remind me that I'm in motion, that I have momentum and motivation, that I'm trying, that I'll get things wrong and I'll change things next time. And made me think about the podcast and how far forward I need to have things recorded to make sure that if something does fall off, which with a chronic illness it can a lot. But I'm trying, I'm human, and I absolutely have the power to rebound. And it's actually left me with some clarity on some things that were cloudy in my business. And I'm actually really excited to get going again. I'm actually really excited to get back to work on Monday. As with 2 children, my weekends are mainly around that. Now, if we go back to the Oprah thing, when I said that she was fired from her first TV job, because I believe it was something along the lines of she was unfit for television. Imagine if she just said, all right, okay, somebody's told me I'm unfit for television, so that's it, I will stop. Imagine if she'd taken it as her sign to quit. Instead, what she did is she rebounded, and not just once, again and again and again, learning each time, evolving each time, and becoming one of the most influential people in the world in doing so. And I think if we were to talk to her today, she would tell us something that she failed at last week, that she had to rebound from. But in hearing her story, she's probably pretty good at rebounding. Her failure wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. So how can you exercise your rebound muscle? How can you fail and rise stronger? Number 1, you can own it. Don't sugarcoat it. Say it out loud. I failed at this. When you name it, you take control of it. When you're aware of it, you can do something to change it. Number 2, extract the lesson. Every failure has a why. What went wrong? What can you tweak, improve, or try differently next time? If you go back to Julie Begbie's episode of this podcast, Julie, I'll link it in the notes. Julie talks about that you'll be presented with a failure or a lesson again and again and again until you take the lesson from it. You will keep having those lessons taught to you, delivered to you from the universe until you learn the lesson that you need to learn from it. So if there's a failure that keeps coming up from you, think, are you actually listening to it? Have you actually learned the lesson? Are you trying to rebound and fail forward with it? Because if it keeps coming back, there's something it's trying to tell you. Number 3, drop the drama. This is a special one written for myself. Failure is data, not a death sentence. Remove the emotional weight and treat it as information. When I fail, and I'm in that moment, I feel like the bottom is just falling out of my world. And it'll be like that for 24 hours. What I'm learning to do is that failure feeling isn't going to go away, but each time it becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. Because I know to remove the emotional weight. I know to tell myself it's just a feeling. What is it trying to tell me? Take the information and move on. Number 4, pause but don't par. Take a moment to feel the sting. Like I just said, I have to. I can be a complete drama queen, so I have to take a moment to feel that sting. But don't let failure stop you. Don't sit in the failure for too long. Take action, even if it's teeny tiny. Send a follow-up email, rework the offer, say sorry. Try again. Number 5, adjust the plan, not the goal. Failure means a route change. Failure means a fork in the road, a change of direction, not a dream change. Do not let go of that dream if you know it's the right dream to follow. Take a route change, not a dream change. Number 6, tell someone. Failure is not shameful or embarrassing. Everybody does it. Look back at all the success stories, and I would love you to get in contact with me on one who doesn't have failure in it. Share your failure with a trusted person, a coach, a community. When failure is spoken, it loses its power over you. It becomes just a story that you move on from. Number 7, reframe it. Instead of telling yourself, I failed, say I'm learning. Instead of I messed up, say I'm adjusting. Words matter, and the body and the mind keeps the data. Number 8, fail faster. The quicker you fail, the quicker you grow. Stop overthinking, keep going, and just try. Start trying every single time. The greatest rebounder is the person who keeps trying. So here's your mission. Go out and fail at something this week on purpose. Say yes to something that scares you, try something new, make a bold move. And when it doesn't go as planned, smile, thank the universe, take the lesson, because that's where success really happens. And ultimately, what I want you to really walk away with today is knowing that failure is not the end, it's a checkpoint. Every failure is a lesson in disguise. Reboundability is a true superpower. It's not about avoiding fail, it's about what you do next. It's about how quickly you get up. It's about how quickly you make that next teeny tiny step of action, or go all in and make that huge bold move. You should be failing more. If you're not failing, you're not growing. The bigger the risks, the bigger the rewards. Next time you fail, don't crumble. Rebound. Adjust. Step forward. That's how success is built. If this episode has resonated with you at all, I would love you to share it, tag me, and tell me all about a time you rebounded from failure. Let's normalise failing and celebrate and count the rebounds. If you're enjoying this podcast, if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to subscribe. It costs nothing, it's a click of a button, and you will never miss an episode of The Joy Work Show. Either my solo episodes or the episodes where I bring you my wonderful guests. So, see you next time on The Joy Work Show, where it will be an amazing guest episode. But until then, go and fail at something and do it with joy.